Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shayan Silva.
And I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. As 6 ministers resigned from the cabinet, Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has said that the military's 48-hour directive is confusing.
The News First International desk has been closely monitoring the developments in Egypt and will have a comprehensive report for us later on in the news.
Before that, here's a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
President returns to the island following a state visit to the Seychelles. Sarath Fonseca charges that government ministers are expressing differing views on the 13th Amendment to ensure their survival.
පාලනය කරන්නවන් පුද්ගලික වාසිය සඳහා පැවැත්ම සඳහා බියගුළු නිවට ක්‍රම අනුගමනය කරමින් පවතිනවා. ජාති ભેද ඇති කරලා සැකය ඇති කරලා උන්ට දේශපාලන වාසි ගන්න.
Inebriated Sri Lankan cricketer attempts to open a cabin door mid-flight. Human skeletal remains discovered in a gully in Kohuala. And circular on enrolling students to A-level classes amended disregarding one-sided conclusion of the Human Rights Commission. Details on Action TV.
And now the stories in detail. President Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived in the island this morning following a successful 5-day visit to Tanzania and the Seychelles. Issuing a communique, the presidential media unit said that the Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete had confirmed his participation at the Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit to be held in Colombo later this year to President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
At the end of his visit to the Seychelles yesterday, President Rajapaksa participated at a Sri Lanka Seychelles Business Forum. The president was welcomed to the business forum by a group including the Minister of External Affairs of the Seychelles.
On the foreign policy, there is best suited every year of compliments on the well-being of our nation.
The presidential media unit said that Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Pires, Governor of the Central Bank Ajit Nivad Cabral and the Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission Nalaka Godaheva also addressed this business forum. The presidential media unit said that the president also planted a sapling at the Biodiversity Park in the Seychelles. The president had signed 3 bilateral agreements with the Seychelles dealing with professional training, youth development and defense cooperation.
Minister of Economic Development Basil Rajapaksa is due to visit India later this week. Indian media reports say that Minister Basil Rajapaksa will hold high-level talks with the Indian government.
India's The Hindu newspaper quoting sources from New Delhi said that Minister Basil Rajapaksa would be visiting India later this week in what appears to be a prelude to Indian National Security Advisor Shiv Shankar Menon's scheduled visit to Sri Lanka this month. The Hindu reported that sources had said that the visits was part of a regular high-level interaction between India and Sri Lanka and that the talks are expected to cover a gamut of issues with economic cooperation being a key point of discussion. The Hindu reported that when questioned on whether Sri Lanka's 13th Amendment to the Constitution would figure in the agenda, sources replied that at such a high-level interaction all major issues would be flagged and that the 13th Amendment was a major issue for India.
The leader of the Democratic Party, Sarath Fonseca, says that the government ministers are expressing contradicting views on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution merely for their existence.
The government is behind all these views that are being expressed. Government ministers and the president are expressing views circling around the 13th Amendment. Because of the government's game, there is fear and hatred being built up amongst communities. The government is attempting to create a rift and win the hearts of the majority, mainly the Sinhala Buddhists, by creating conflicts among the minorities. The rulers of this country are engaged in cowardly acts for their own personal benefit and create doubt amongst the communities for their political advantage. We condemn this.
බියගුළු නිවට ක්‍රම අනුගමනය කරමින් පවතිනවා. ජාති ભેද ඇති කරලා සැකය ඇති කරලා උන්ට දේශපාලන වාසි ගන්න. අපි මේක තරේ හෙලා දකිනවා.
Meanwhile, at an event held in Colombo, Sarath Fonseca presented the appointments to new electorate organizers of the Democratic Party.
Let's now take a look at the newspaper cartoon of the day, which we selected from amongst today's English newspapers.
What you just witnessed was footage of demonstrations organised by farmers in various parts of the island over the recent past in an effort to bring to the attention of authorities the problems they are facing with regard to fertilizer for their crops. Rather than work in the fields, many farmers across the island have now been made to waste their time in this manner, waiting for the much needed fertilizer. Farmers organised demonstrations in several parts of the island today as well, demanding fertilizer for their crops.
At first sight, you may think that this is a fertile paddy field. However, closer inspection will show the yellowing and wilted paddy. This has become a common sight in paddy fields not only in the North Central Province, but in other provinces across the island as well. .408,033 hectares of land has been cultivated for the Yalla harvest season. It is expected that the Yalla harvest season will yield a harvest of 1,624,916 metric tons of paddy. Farmers in a number of areas charge that they are yet to receive much needed fertilizer in order to meet this expectation. A number of paddy fields in the Polonnaruwa district have already wilted away owing to the lack of fertilizer. Farmers gathered opposite the Sevagama Agrarian Services Centre in Polonnaruwa today in the belief that they would receive some fertilizer today at least. The chairman of the Tamankadwa Pradeshya Sabha, who arrived at this location, also got involved in the matter. Farmers questioned as to whether one sack of fertilizer would be sufficient for several acres of paddy fields. Farmers in Agbopura Kantale queued up today as well in the anticipation that authorities would fulfill their promise to provide fertilizer. In response to a demonstration staged by farmers yesterday demanding that they receive fertilizer immediately, the authorities promised them that fertilizer would be distributed today. Farmers say that the paddy stocks have already wilted away due to the lack of fertilizer.
Meanwhile, the Paddy Marketing Board says that there is already a surplus being shown in the paddy harvest for the 2013 Yalla season. Chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, KB Jayasinghe, says that plans are already in place to purchase the excess paddy.
The Paddy Marketing Board expected to purchase 110,000 metric tons of paddy during the Yalla season. Chairman of the board, KB Jayasinghe, has said that the stock of paddy harvested from the Ampara district continues to reach the markets. He added that paddy from those areas will be purchased, granting an opportunity for farmers from those areas. KB Jayasinghe went on to say that arrangements have been made at storage facilities to store the purchased paddy, and if space is not sufficient, stocks will be directed to Colombo.
International media reported this morning on how a member of the Sri Lanka A team had acted in a drunk and disorderly manner on board a British Airways flight. Issuing a media release this evening, Sri Lanka Cricket explained the incident that had taken place.
Media release, Colombo, Sri Lanka, 2nd July 2013. SLC press release, Sri Lanka A player incident. Dear all, further to the earlier press release on the above subject, the team manager, Mr. Jayantha Seneviratne, submitted a report to the CEO on the above incident. According to the report, the team has boarded the flight BA2158 from Grenada around 5 p.m. on the 30th of June 2013 to London. The incident took place around midnight during the flight. The player concerned, namely, had tried to use the toilet. Due to the dim lights in the cabin, the player has mistakenly tried to open one of the cabin doors, thinking it was the toilet door. At that moment, certain passengers had brought to his notice that he is trying to access the incorrect door. At this point, the officials of the Sri Lanka team too walked up to the player and directed him the right way. The player apologized profusely to the passengers and to the cabin staff, who accepted it in good faith. An inquiry will be conducted based on the manager's report, and disciplinary action will be taken on the player concerned if found fault. However, quoting British Airways, the UK's Daily Mail reported that members of the Sri Lankan team had been flying from St. Lucia in the Caribbean to London's Gatwick Airport when one of the cricketers had attempted to open a cabin door mid-flight and had set off a panic. The Daily Mail reported that the stewards and stewardesses on board the flight had intervened and brought the situation under control, adding that the cricketer in question was inebriated at the time of the incident. The Daily Mail quoted witness accounts of the incident.
It was very scary. He looked very dazed or drunk. He was very tall and wearing black and red headphones. He had a blue polo shirt with a team logo on it. Some of his teammates were shouting and telling him to stop.
Is this another cover-up? Shouldn't national pride be protected? Who is lying?
Attorney General Palitha Fernandes says that this is an opportune moment for everyone to unite and realize the importance of religious and racial harmony. He made this comment in Colombo yesterday.
The release of the Sinhala version of this.
The launch of the Sinhala version of the book titled Islamic Jurisprudence, authored by Justice C.G. Veeramantri, took place at the auditorium of the Bandaranagar Centre for International Studies yesterday.
As well. Ladies and gentlemen, this occasion,
I must tell you that this is an opportune moment for all of us to get together and then realize the importance of religious and racial harmony. If anyone does anything to breach that, I think that attempt should be condemned with revulsion and disgust. I say this with all seriousness. I say so because it is only on religious and racial harmony that everything depends, and we cannot think of any sort of development devoid or divorced of such religious harmony.